You've basically, at the end of the book of Numbers, it's basically like, dude, take yourself out of this dating market, right? And you've seen certain, Chris Williamson put out a tweet the other day, why 50% of men are taking themselves out of the dating market. And my question is, what should they be doing? I mean, there's the drive for sexual intercourse and sexual validation is still going to be there, right? What should they be doing instead?
Well, there's a couple things, and it depends on you. But the next book I came out was called The Menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex.
Yeah.
Because the cost for some men, it's not everyone, there's no universal solution. For some men, the pursuit of women is just going to be cost prohibitive. Like, I got to do what? You know, like, I'm 5'6", I'm short. And yeah, I got to ask, you can get girls if you're 5'6". It's so much more added effort and work that for an individual, you may look at that and say, you know what, I got to hit the gym and I got to make 6 figures. Well, you know, there's a substitute good called prawn. That I can do. And I think that's a huge variable in it where, and I remember, if I did the math, so you'd have to ask out about 8 or 9 girls to get a date. And then you'd have to go on with the girl. And then 1 in 3 might sleep with you. But this is after 3 days. Well, you start multiplying this up. Okay, that's fine when you're a 20-year-old man.
Sure.
And you got all the, and you have
It was fun. It was going out, even getting rejected was fun. You were out with your buddies. It was fun. I agree with you.
Well,
I was young. I didn't give a
with your buddies, it's fun, but then you're on the actual date with the girl, and you ain't with your buddies, and it's like listening to this boring, like, I'm gonna go become a school teacher, like, and you're just so horny you want to get. Well, that's fine if you're 20 years old making $11 an hour.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're 45 and you're making $120 an hour, and you're sick of that. Like, a person would look at that and say, oh, by the way, in the cacophony of women online telling you how much they hate you and they don't like you and you better, and you have some corroborating evidence going online and getting shot down all the time. For a significant percentage of men, they're going to do the calculus, they're going to do the economics, they say, this is not worth it and I'm checking out, all right? In which case, then there's the menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex. You can pursue things like philosophy, religion. Most are going to pursue sloth because, let's just admit it, they're lazy at the core and they don't want to put in. And they're also cowards, I'm afraid, because they're afraid of rejection.
Yes.
So there's that too. And I can see where a guy is, I don't have time for this. The girls are telling me to make $250,000 a year. That's what, the top 1% of men, especially the younger you are.
But I do want to ask you a question about something, because you did a video about, you were discussing some of the stuff that I do, and it had to do with using your work in order to meet women or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was actually a broader point there, which is the concept of using a social circle in order to meet women, or basically create a funnel to where women are constantly being pulled into your arena with you doing very little work. And there are ways to do this. Now, one way I was sort of forced into, I couldn't find a job in 01. Enron had just gone out of business. There were no consulting jobs for any of these companies. And I ended up working at a strip club as a DJ and then later on as a manager. In this case, I would go out, for girls' birthdays and it'd be me and like 10 strippers. When I did that, I noticed a bunch of other girls started to want to meet me. There was no club I couldn't walk into, never had to pay for drinks. I got really good at talking to women. So it was one of these things where like, because I could imagine a guy working at a theater, which mostly women, or a male nurse working on a floor in a hospital or a nonprofit or something like that, where you're just surrounded by women all the time. Yes. Maybe you are a busser. There's 40 cocktail servers at the place you work at and you're a busser, something like that. In those cases, what I've seen is there's guys who are basically able to put women in what's called a familiar environment as opposed to an unfamiliar environment. There's this really important distinction that sex researchers come up with, or people who research dating, which is the concept of long-term dating and short-term dating, and the concept of familiar environment and unfamiliar environment. Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge are an unfamiliar environment. Right. Going up to strange women, doing cold approach is an unfamiliar environment. In the unfamiliar environment, that 4% of Chads at the top, they do better in the unfamiliar environment. So a strategy might be, which is what you were referring to previously when you were talking about what I do, is to take as many women you can from an unfamiliar environment into a familiar environment. Right. At the charity event that we're hosting, or at the bikini competition, or at the comp table, or at the group birthday party that you set up for one of the girls. I love setting up, when I was single, setting up birthday parties for girls that I knew, because I knew I was going to meet 20 other women whenever I did it.
Easy, yeah.
Dude, I love being the guy who was like, when there was a bachelor party that came to Vegas, like, good, no, I'll walk you guys into excess, because I knew I was going to walk in with 10 and meet another 10. I'm just curious what you think about this concept of like using a social circle in order to meet women using less effort. This is kind of mind-blowing for people, because like I don't like using dating apps, and I don't recommend guys do like 60 days of straight up pickup cold approach. What I recommend is building this awesome social circle so that you create a funnel so that women are coming into your life with very little effort.
You could do it if you can.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. And it's a brilliant strategy. I mean, that's how I got most of my success, because I used to do ballroom dancing instructor. And then I also
I can't even imagine. If you're a ballroom dancing instructor, you know how to talk to women. I can't even imagine, bro.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it was
that
good.
That would be crazy.
It was, dude, I'd say like, okay, so I have my dance class, right? Not to go on a tangent, but I have my dance class. And I had to separate it and distinguish it from the other competitors' dance classes. So I take them on field trips. So we go to a nightclub, a salsa club, all this other stuff. And it just so happened to be that these were like 2 miles down the street from my house. So the girl, it was good times. So
it's not an accident. My favorite nightclub in my apartment are 4 minutes away from each other. That is not an accident. Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, it's a brilliant way. And the point I was making with that video was that if it could be your job, which ballroom dancing was my part-time job, or a bartender or something like that. Yeah, because you're double dipping, triple dipping, you're making money, you're meeting girls and all that. Not everyone could, how does an electrician do that? There's not a lot of women, unless you're in the trophy wife suburbs fixing up shit.
This is what I would recommend for the electrician. The electrician needs to get involved with animal rescue in his city and start organizing the animal rescue galas all throughout his city while in his off time, and then he is just constantly surrounded by women with very little effort.
Right. But so it would be outside of your work. So if your career or profession, you're a lawyer, well, you don't really have that much time. All right. But yes, your extracurricular activities, nonprofits, volunteering.
You were focusing on using your job to get women.
Yes.
And my point was, my job happens to be to build social circles, which is the reason why these two things correlate. But building a social circle is the way you get women. And sometimes if you're a club promoter, then your job is to build a social circle, which then also funnels women into your life.
And I mean, simple rank, just go into like the hiking group, your familiar environment, or the ping pong league or whatever. Now, Meetup has got its drawbacks. I never really had a lot of success with it, but at least you're there under safe pretenses of, we all like bowling. Okay, cool. And then over time, and I understand and agree, the cold approach, they don't know you. But if you go bowling a couple times and you're a familiar face, you don't even have to say hi, but I recognize him. There's some tribe type of
mere exposure.
Trust. Yeah, and then so your chances do go up. But another thing is it takes some time to build that up. It's not immediately overnight. But it's a great strategy. Yeah. Another thing you can do is, which I'm not against, overseas. It's no different.
So we were going to get into Passport Bros.
Right.
By the way, shout out to the Passport Bros who made a video being very mean to me the other day.
I don't know what the video was, but it's not irrational. For example, we do this in economics all the time. The labor unions are getting a little uppity at the auto industry. Well, we're going to set up a plant down in Mexico.
Yes.
The labor unions get a little uppity in Detroit. We're going to go down to the Carolinas.
That's what Passport Bros are. It's like economic arbitrage, but for dating.
Right. And then we did it with China. Like, wow, we don't make our cell phones here. We make it in China. All right. And so I could appreciate, you get a better deal overseas. Now, there are risks involved, as there always is, and there are drawbacks to Passport Bros. But right now, I'd look at it, we're in our 40s. Put yourself in the eyes of a 23-year-old kid today, a young man. I'm looking at this, and now we have the internet that exposes it all. When we were teens, 20s, we didn't have the red pill. There was no internet to say, this is hypergamy. Like, you had no clue.
We had a box that was out in the woods that somebody buried, and then it had like Victoria's Secret and Frederick's Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's all we had.
That's all you had.
That's all we had.
That's all you had.
And then gutter talk at the locker room.
Right.
That was the red pill.
But now, and you'll appreciate this being a military pilot. Now, it's not like we put an AWAC up in the air to get we got satellites up there. Oh my gosh, we're no longer soldiers in the trenches of World War I saying, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
We got computer printout, like, okay, here's the battle plan. I can't do this, but I still want to get married and have kids, so I could see the logical conclusion would be to go overseas. Then there's the solution, which is what I recommend, which doesn't negate either of the previous two. It's all individual. And it's the same thing that Rich Cooper concluded in his book Unplugged Alpha, which is what I've concluded in all my analysis and that. And that is, you're going to die. And I don't know about you, but I'm not religious. I think this is it. There's blackness after this. There's not even me being conscious to recognize the blackness, because my sentience will end. I will not be a being to recognize this anymore. That scares the piss out of me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's going to happen.
I happen to be religious, but if I was an atheist, I could see the beauty in just like not having to worry about things anymore.
Right. Yeah. There's that too.
Yeah.
But
no pain anymore. Like that. There is some beauty in that.
Right. But then also it's a blessing, because if this is it, if this is all, we're not going up to a God in the sky and looking down and watching the human race like a football game. We're cheering people on. I want to make this count.
Sure.
So much. which is why I'm always out hiking, which is why I prefer leisure over working. You know, like if you said, hey, do you want to make $100 or do you want to go hiking? I want to go hiking, you know, as long as I got my other stuff covered. That's why I go motorcycle riding. That is the motivation I recommend for men to do because it is serving your best interests. You're capitalizing on the life that you've been given. And so you should not be doing drugs. I mean, if you want to do drugs and you're okay with it and it doesn't ruin your life, fine, okay, go ahead. But you should be doing what you want and making the best of your life. And that means getting in physical shape, not for the girl, but for extending your life, for being healthy, for not feeling like crap every morning. You should go out and make a lot of money. You should study and work and major in the hard things. Why should you study in the hard things? Because then it's going to make the rest of your life easier.
Yo, making a lot of money, not all, like the money itself isn't the benefit.
That's not the goal.
Yeah, it's not the goal of the benefit. I will tell you, like putting a team together to solve a problem is, I believe, the apex of the male human experience. And that's what happened. And in addition, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to play quarterback for a football team or be the CEO of a company or put rockets into space. You're going to make a lot of money. But I personally believe the apex of the human experience is to have a family and to accomplish goals with other men and women, but to accomplish goals together, because that's what makes us different from other, with the exception of chimpanzees and dolphins. We're the only animals that do that.
Last year, the single most proud thing I was about my accomplishments, I put in retaining walls.
There you go.
Because I built it, right.
Yeah.
I didn't make any money. I saved a lot of money doing it myself, but I didn't make any money. And I wouldn't say the happiest, the most satisfied with my career I had ever been was working campus security because of the team of guys I worked with. I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't realize how good these people were, but all of a sudden then you go work into the real world, like, oh my God, we had a great team. It was a bunch of guys and we were patrolling and making the campus safe. It was very simple. But once you got enough money, you don't really need to work all that much more. And the reason you should be making a lot of money, like engineering, accounting, whatever, is so that you don't have to worry about money anymore. And then you're free to go and live your life and do what you want.
Sure.
And then there should be some hobbies. Again, in my book called The Menu, it's like goes through like, dude, travel, motorcycle ride, jujitsu, anything. Now, what happens when you do this and you realize you're going to die and you work out and you go make money and you practice in jujitsu and you go kayaking? What ends up happening to you as a man?
You take your focus away from women and put it onto yourself, and then the women tend to come.
You are a much higher quality man than you were. And so outside of women, my argument is you're finite, this will end. And I look at all these video game addicts who are on pot. I got a social anxiety disorder. I got to talk to my therapist again. I try to get my associate's degree, but I live at home. I'm like, why are you alive? Honestly, like what, dude? Come on. Some fat activist died a couple days ago, and her whole thing was like, I'm fat, I'm big, I'm beautiful. Well, you're dead now. This is your life? This is what you're going to do? Get off your ass and go live it before it's over. Haven't even introduced women into it. And if you do that, at minimum, you're not going to waste your life. You're going to have an enjoyable life, or at least a content life. And if you do that, that's the number one thing you can do to drastically improve your chances with women. What happens to women sociologically, economically, philosophically, like are they going to like guys, are they going to hate guys, is it going to be the top 4%, is it going to be the top 1%? It won't matter. You will have done all you could to improve yourself to the maximum amount, enjoying a life, not wasting it, and then you go talk to the girls. Then you ask girls out. Now, let's say you ask a bunch of girls out and it still doesn't work. In my book, The Book of Numbers, the quality of women is absolutely atrocious for marriage material here. And you're a very marriage-minded man. Fine, you're this 10. You're this alpha. You've done everything you can. It might still be in your best interest to go overseas. I don't know. Maybe because you're CEO, you don't have time to F around and date.
If you're going overseas because you're legitimately looking for a wife, that was not what I had an issue with. What I had an issue with were the guys who were just coping and going over there to have sex with prostitutes. And then saying that it was like I'm a passport bro looking for a better woman who's not colluded by Western women. And then you go over there and you're just like prostitutes. And to me, that's not like a passport bro. And the other thing is, this is just my only caveat. Anyone over 14% body fat should not be a passport bro. Every one of you can get below 14% body fat. Right. If you're overweight and you're becoming a passport bro, that means you haven't tried everything you can here before you do it.